Whiteholes, the mysterious brother of the black hole. Are they formed through the collapse of a giant star, or does it have more to do with the birth of a black hole? I'm going to be answering that question, and it's likely not going to be the answer you were expecting. But to actually understand how white holes are formed, we first need to understand what white holes even are. And to understand what white holes are, we need to look at their counterparts, black holes. Black holes are the time reversal of white holes, meaning that a lot of what a black hole does, the white hole does the opposite. A black hole takes matter in, while a white hole spits matter out. And I know what you're thinking, well, doesn't it just mean that white holes are formed the opposite way of black holes? Well, not really, but we will get to that later. A black hole is an extremely dense area of space, where all matter has to be squeezed together to an insane small space called the singularity. Because of this, black holes have an extremely intense gravitational pull, which nothing can escape from. If you didn't understand anything I just said, just imagine putting your finger inside a vacuum cleaner. You can feel your finger being pulled inside the vacuum cleaner, and now imagine this pull of a vacuum cleaner like a trillion times worse, and we're talking about a black hole here. The reason for this strong pull is because of how much matter has been squeezed inside each other. A black hole that is smaller than your finger will weigh more than our entire planet. That's almost as much as your mom, but we're getting off topic here. Now, let's talk about the event horizon of a black hole, since it's going to be important later on. If you don't know what an event horizon is, it's pretty much the surface of a black hole. The moment you cross the event horizon, there is no going back, even if you are going at the speed of light. This is important since white holes are the opposite of black holes, so this means that the event horizon of a white hole will make it impossible to go any further. We will get back to that later, but for now, we need to understand how black holes are even formed, since white holes have a lot to do with this, and there are different ways of a black hole forming. The first way, and the most popular way of a black hole forming, is the collapse of a giant star. When a star is big enough and it explodes in a supernova, there's a great chance of all the mass of the core becoming a black hole. This is the most common way of a black hole forming, but there is a second way. And that is when two massive objects like neutron stars merge and create a single object with enough mass to create a singularity. Also, for all the cavemen out there, a neutron star is pretty much a collapsed star that is smaller, but has way more mass and is also way more powerful than a normal star. It also spins pretty fast. But let's actually discuss what white holes have to do with all of this. Like I discussed before, white holes are the opposite of black holes, but at first this isn't very noticeable. Both white holes and black holes look very similar, and you can't really tell the difference between how they look. The main difference between the two is that when something enters a black hole, it can never leave again, whereas it's the opposite with a white hole, since when something leaves a white hole, it can never enter it again. And I know what you're thinking, if nothing can enter a white hole, how do things even come out of it? And this is where there's a good chance that white holes and black holes are somewhat connected to each other. White holes and black holes might just be a wormhole, meaning that they are kind of portals through space. This is still just a theory, but it has a good chance of actually being true. But even if the first theory I just described was not true, it doesn't mean that white holes and black holes aren't connected in any way. See, the problem with white holes forming is that it's kind of impossible, because the idea of a star exploding and a white hole forming from it is hard to actually be possible. This is because white holes only burp things out and don't let anything in. It's kind of like smashing your entire car into small pieces and trying to rebuild a fully working car completely from there. It just wouldn't work. There are also more reasons why it probably wouldn't work, but let's actually discuss if white holes are even real, since none of this would matter if they aren't even gonna exist. See, the entire problem with finding out how white holes are formed comes down to, are they even real, and if they are real, how do they actually work? There are different theories about white holes. There's even one that speculates that the Big Bang was a white hole, which is pretty crazy to think about. With all these theories, the white hole could literally be anything, but instead of looking at the theories, let's look at some proof of white holes' existence, and which theory is the most close to it. See, black holes were discovered with Einstein's theory of general relativity, and in this theory he also describes the existence of white holes. The problem is that it doesn't actually explain how white holes are actually formed, which means that we actually don't really know how they would exist. For this, we are going to look at a couple different theories on how they can be formed, and this is probably going to be the most important part of the video. The first theory I'm going to discuss is the theory that a white hole is actually the result of the death of a black hole. See, when a black hole becomes so small to the point where it no longer obeys the laws of physics as we know it, it probably just dies. The problem with black holes is that we don't really know what happens to things that get swallowed up by them, and this theory would have a good explanation, since when the black holes die and it becomes a white hole, it will release everything inside it before disappearing into the deep void of space. The problem with this theory is that it would take trillions of years before a black hole could realistically die, meaning that it would not explain some signs of the universe already having white holes, since the universe isn't old enough for black holes to have died yet. If this theory is true, it could mean that one day we will have a universe full of white holes, but that isn't going to happen anytime soon, so let's not worry about that for now. But remember, that Big Bang theory I mentioned before? Yeah, that's the second theory we are going to be talking about. The explosion of matter and energy coming from the Big Bang looks very similar to a white hole releasing matter. With this, there's a good chance that the Big Bang was actually just a massive white hole shooting out all its matter, creating our universe. This theory has its own problems and has been criticized a lot, but who knows? The truth is that in this day and age, we don't have enough information about white holes to really know everything. We have only recently discovered black holes, so for now let's just keep our attention on that. There are more theories about white holes, but I actually want to upload this video this year.
We do not care.
If you want to learn more about how the universe works and the truth behind what it really looks like, you should probably watch this video.